doctor too, right? Isn't that how that
Well, it
works?
depends if you're going up
Oh
or down,
man,
I guess.
I'm so excited. I got Kylee Ingram in the house, my friends. This lady is a wizard, a genius of emotional intelligence. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I talking to like the founder of Gallup Institute? Because her understanding of teams and building smart teams and understanding what a decision room is and how to put it together. I just got to bow to you, Kylee. You are absolutely amazing. And all of us are in for a treat. We're going to be talking about why smart teams still make bad decisions and how to escape that with none other than the genius, Kylee Ingram herself. Welcome back to Vision Pros Live.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I stand on the shoulders of other people's research. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you deliver it so well. And I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say stand on the shoulders because it's hard to do things when you're on people's shoulders, I have found. But okay, I get it. There's a doctor that really helped you on this. But guys, I listened to Kylee break down my Wiser report. The tool she has, she got this free tool that helps you see like what type of leader you are and who you need in the room. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what you know and what you've built and how y'all built it. Tell us about the doctor though. Who's the primary doctor that has helped with this process? Tell us about your background because I know I've made you sound larger than life. You are, but like let's hear it from you too, Kylee. How did you become so cool?
Well, I don't think I am cool, but thank you very much. I'm Australian. I'm not sure where that used to, be. We've got a bit of the tall poppy syndrome down here. Humility is, I think, generally part of our demeanor. So I do thank you, though. But I came out of television, I guess, initially, and created the creative space. So creating, different interactive tools that did one for climate change that helped kids and all different things and all different documentaries. But I really got into on one of the interactive things the concept of wise crowds and the fact that wise crowds can make better decisions than individuals. And we did a TV program called Wise Crowd TV. So it was really well received, and it was so much fun to get the right people in the room making the decisions about that documentary. And then my co-founder did on Wiser Technologies. He did his research in wise crowds and said, "Hey, you'll love this. Come across and check it out." And the first pilot we did tripled the amount of pediatric research funding for the Sydney Children's Hospital Foundation. So we knew, that's always been our true north. We knew we were onto something. And then the doctor we speak of is Dr. Juliet Burke. She ran her own department at Deloitte and was doing decision frameworks. Her research, she wrote a book called Which Two Heads Are Better Than One, which is a fantastic book because it's not just her research, it's research from around the world about how you get the best outcomes of making decisions. And what she found was if you get the right people in the room for a decision, you get a 30% reduction in decision error and a 20% increase in innovation. And at the same time, there's a guy in the US called Scott Page at Michigan University, a mathematician, that was looking at the importance of cognitive diversity in a room when you're making decisions. And he found the same thing. And he thought there was somewhere between, I think it was 5 and 9 different types of cognitive style when it comes to decision. And Juliet really dug in and identified 6. And from there, we have 7 archetypes today on our website, the Decision Power Profiles, that'll tell you what kind of way you cognitively come to decisions.
I love it. It was so neat to go through that experience and see what my result was. Guys, I'm going to share with you too what my result looks like, but you can all go to wiser.business. That's WIZER.business, and take this little exam for yourself, this study to see how is it that you go about making decisions. And in the world of visionary leadership, it's not as simple as going left or right, and hopefully ending up in the right same position. No, it is complicated to build a great vision, and having the right people by your side is one of the most important things that you can invest your time, your attention, your money into figuring out. And so Kylee is doing an awesome job of leading that. Kylee, before we take a little break, I want to go into right into one of the explorations. So, how do you recognize and shift away from unproductive decision patterns? When we come back, we'll talk about how to shift into it. But how do you break away from unproductive decision patterns, and what is an unproductive decision pattern?
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to bias. And if you've read Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow or Noise, there's bias in everything we do. And I think those that are most confident, are at least willing to admit sometimes the bias we have. And Juliet broke down decision bias because we stay firmly in the decision lane. We're looking at decisions. The data we're trying to collect is looking at decisions. And so with the bias, there's three main bias: social bias, information bias, and capacity bias. And if you're not acknowledging that you're going into decisions probably with all three of them, especially if you're in a team setting, you leading to groupthink, blind spots, and limiting your creativity by not looking at those things. And each of those, the social bias is the groupthink, the information bias is the blind spots, and I could go into them more, but yeah, that's
Sure.
that's the first thing I would look at.
So, who's susceptible to? Are we all susceptible to
Yeah,
groupthink in our own way?
yeah. I mean, look at the biggest companies in the world now and what they're making money on. What are they making money on? They're putting us into silos, having us yell at the stars at one another, and people enjoy being, once they're in that silo yelling at one another, they're like, yeah, all these people that, potentially just would have been the one person in town that the rest of the town were like, well, that's,
Yep.
come on, George, calm down. Whereas, you can go online and find all the, you find your people online and you put into this thing and you're reinforced. It's that information bias is weighted. And you're overweighting the data that you're hearing in these rooms. And so, these conflict entrepreneurs are making money out of our modern system, and they're designing it to polarize us rather than to integrate us. And you can't run companies like that, can you? You can't have your company where, George and his mates in one end and the other, and they won't go near one another because they think that they think that there's no commonality, whereas there's so much commonality.
There is. I love that last statement. There is so much commonality, but my friends, it is hard to escape the group think. It is around us. We are absorbing it over and over throughout all aspects of society. And so we're going to dive in when we come back to exactly what tools are available to us, how we can escape that, how we can maximize our decision making in order to turn greater profits, also create more productivity, and ensure that our visions are scaling the way that we need them to. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Calame. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. What's up, my friends? Welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Calame, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I am so excited to have the genius, Kylee Ingram, on our stage today. When I was pre-vetting Kylee for the show, that is a difficult process, my friends. We've had 2,500 plus guests. By the way, we're about to cross 17,000 subscribers. Thank you for that, my friends. We love you. We're grateful to have you. I want to show you what I went through. I went through this crazy exam thing, and it popped out and is like, hey, Jackson, guess what? You're a visionary leader. And I was like, there's no way that I could have planned that she could have planned that. Understanding what that means, though, is super important, too. But I took this assessment. I'm thinking like, I could end up in any one of these categories, and we'll figure out who I need to work with and what my strengths are and stuff. And the big 5 traits that I have: imagination and extroversion, agreeableness. Like this thing is so cool. And it helped me really start to understand, like, well, who might I want to be collaborating with too? And how can we win our collaborations? And what strengths for growth and actions can I take related to this? This is absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough about it. I know I'm just kind of like a talking head right now, gibberish wise, but my friends, I use these types of tools to help me plan the intentional execution of how we're going to create growth with my team members, and the more they can understand about how they make decisions and what decisions they make, the better we're going to become at being able to produce results for others. And that is key as a visionary leader. Real quick, I want to give you guys some other resources too, in addition to Wiser. AI Mavericks, they don't pay for this sponsorship spot. I actually pay them because I care about connecting with AI leaders who are able to kind of get me the news of what's going on and what tools can I use and what's on the cutting edge. They're driving that Ferrari fast and finding out the advanced stuff. I tend to focus more on what I'll call the AI, the authentic intelligence. So thank you, Scott Simpson and Austin Armstrong, for what you've created. We've also created the AI marketplace at First Class Business. Go to ai.firstclassbusiness.io/depth, and you'll actually skip this page, DEPTH, and you'll see some of the deeper level stuff that we're diving into to create, again, productivity and profitability for our brands. You already are an AI expert, my friend, just like anybody who can pick up a hammer. But are you qualified to build a house with that hammer? I'm not. Maybe you might want to work with some people who can help you maximize how you're using these tools for your success. That's what this whole community is about. Even if you can't afford to pay us for it, there's a free grant program. We want you to come in. We don't want anybody left behind in the world of AI. So come and join us. And then there's the Water Project. My friends, have never been thirsty in my life. And so when somebody told me about this, I didn't listen the first 3 times they told me about it, I think. And I was finally like, all right, I'll take a look. And I did. And I saw that you could invest in a specific community and you could learn about the project. And if you actually invest in the community, the Water Project is so cool. They will show you the results of the outcome of your contribution, even if you only commit $10 to it. Well, when I saw kids finding water in sources like you just saw on your screen, I thought of my own kids. And when I saw these kids celebrating water, like my kids celebrate Christmas Day, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about this on my show often, because I want other people to say, you know what, even if you can't invest in the Water Project, my hope is you'll take it and go talk about it with friends and family over dinner and look and explore and see what's possible with this. We've got millions of people, my friends, who could be, who don't even have access to AI. They don't have access to podcasts. They don't have access to water. We have the opportunity to help them. We've got 8 billion people to help in this world. I hope you join forces with me and do that simply by spreading the word. As long as I rock this microphone, I'm gonna do everything I can to help this and other causes. Speaking of, if there's a cause that is near and dear to your heart that I haven't mentioned, please drop it in the comments. I'll personally take a look at what that cause is and see if there's something that I can do to help out with it. And without further ado, it's time to go back to helping every single one of you with your cause and your vision. Kylee Ingram, again, thank you so much for joining me on Vision Pros Live.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, so we set the ground for why smart teams still make bad decisions. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that. And I want to talk about how decision styles shape team performance as well. Which rabbit hole do you want to go down? The bad decisions process or the shaping team performance?
Well, maybe the the first will lead into the second anyway. So start there.
All right. So then why are smart teams still making bad decisions? Why do we get stuck with results that we're shocked by, or end up in situations where we're all frustrated with each other? What's leading to that?
Well, I don't think people are designing their decision rooms, but they're not designing them, or they're doing them out of gut, or they're doing them based on hierarchy, not based on looking at what the cognitive makeup of the room is, plus, what the experience is in the room. That's often where they'll get to in the hierarchy. And, if you're somebody like Boeing, then you want to make more money and you take the engineers out of the room, then you're getting rid of that part. So we look at the way you design decision rooms in 3 ways. That cognitive diversity piece, you want the 7 types. And so you want those 7 different ways of thinking about those, the way a decision gets made. And
I got to interrupt you real quick. Are you guys, are you solopreneurs hearing this? Are you hearing this loud and clear, please? Because you get called wantrepreneur in other rooms. And guys, I failed as a solopreneur. It was easy to design my decision room. I designed it around me, and it was all me, and I was failing miserably. That is not a decision room. So good. You talked about 7 archetypes. Keep going, Kylee. But all you solopreneurs, wake up. You need help.
The good news for the solopreneurs is that Dr. Burke found that there's a primary and a secondary. So if you can probably think one of two, two ways in that style, but you have to be conscious of it too. It's not like Edward de Bono's where you're taking off hats and putting on another hat. You can't, like, if I asked you, Jackson, as a visionary, your complementary style is a deliverer that's process orientated. Could you think about process for a very long, period of time? And, when you and I meet process people, we're like, wow. We're like, wow.
Dude, I love that you ask it though, because here's the thing, guys. I am like genius level individual. I can deliver and process all at once. And how stupid would I be? How short-sighted would I be to try to carry the weight and mantle of all that? Even if I was the one unicorn who could figure it out all by myself, like, what do I win at the end of having such a hard life? Don't plan. It's solopreneurs. Don't try to be the unicorn who wins the lottery by yourself. I don't recommend it. So even if you can have the essence of processing it, I still cannot outperform 2 or 3 great minds by my side. I just can't. I need to swallow my ego and make sure that I work with people. So I'm so glad you asked, because yes, I can do it. But do I want to? And is that the smart thing to do? No, it's not.
But when you meet you meet a genuine process person too, they're not even trying. It's the way they think, you know what I mean? And same with risk. Entrepreneurs, we're not very good at seeing the risk. And that's part of who we are. So, but risk can give you things about that long-term vision that wouldn't get. And often when we look at, one of the ways we've also worked on this is to look at the things that have gone really wrong. The board, Juliet mentions a bunch of boards and different organizations in her thing, or McDonald's failure with Chipotle and Enron. And when you analyze those teams, they all had the same thinking styles. So you might have got a little bit of outward diversity, which is still important. You want to dehomogenize the outward diversity, but if you're still thinking the same, it doesn't really matter. You'll come to decisions really quickly. And I don't mean this is going to slow you down either. Like, it's not a decelerator. But if you designed a decision room and you went status quo, this decision room wins. It'll win every time because you've designed it, and you've got those 3 layers. You've got that outward facing diversity. And if you read the jury studies, they're my favorite part of this. It's not just that a person, say we're, in a jury and we're a homogenized group of white people, and then we're ready to make the decision about what's going on. You put in a person of color into that room. It's not just that that there's a different perspective in there. We check ourselves, so we become better decision makers thanks to that person. So the decision improves. Mm-hmm. So with our tool is looking live at those layers, the outward facing diversity, the experience, and that cognitive diversity piece. And it will tell you who you're missing live. Like, you just click on a button and it'll say, hey, you should add, you've got no analyzers in here, you've got no whatever, go and look, or you've got no one under 60.
I wish I had this 10 years ago. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I had the ability to see this, because before your tool, I'm curious if like, how did you do this before your tool exists? And what am I asking exactly, my friends? I want to understand how to add the right people to my decision room. But how did you do it before your tool existed?
Well, don't you think that people just think they know, and it's based on a hierarchy? They must know. Loudest people in the room are often considered the smartest. And so if you are the leader, the other thing is not just the designing the decision room. Independence is very important in a decision. So if you're the loudest person or the senior person, be quiet until, if you're in a literal room rather than our tech space, be quiet until everybody else has said it, or you're influencing the decision too much, and you don't get all the opinions. And if Toyota didn't do that, they wouldn't have had the Lexus, because it was somebody in the back of the room that just said.
So are you kind of saying that before your tool, it was kind of luck of the draw and just haphazard intuition?
Don't you think most of the world looks like a little bit?
You're right. There's a giant case study right in front of us. A bunch of people who don't know what to do and how to win.
Who all might look the same. Who all might think the same. Like, I don't know.
So true.
It's okay. There for us to see.
So All right. So then what can leaders do to build clearer and more effective decision processes that also lead to profitability? I'm going to add that caveat on there too. Like, how do they make sure that
Well,
it's not
you know,
leading them to be
if you
broke?
if you're doing this, you're decreasing your decision error by 30%, increasing innovation. So we know that by 20%. So if you can design your room well, I think you need to know those biases and understand what cognitive diversity actually does in a decision. It's not a personality profile. It's trying to find you those people that you need, the different ways of thinking when you come to a decision. And that other thing is independence. Speak last. If you're a leader, or the loudest voice, the one that's always talking, if you have that self-awareness, try and speak last. They're the main things. But I think you have to understand how people decide, not just who they are. And so it also helps improve communication. We've got a whole communication tool called Wise Snaps that we built for actually the charity sector asked for it. So, before you go into a meeting, I could say, who is Jackson? He's a visionary. This is what I wanted to say to him, and to say, look, Jackson's not interested in that. He wants to know how you're going to cure, he wants you to throw the big pitch, not the little one. Or you might meet somebody else and say, look, this person's very analytical. They'll want the evidence that you've got on that. Mm-hmm. So
I want you to keep going on this. I'm going to pull up the tool itself again, so that people can really see and kind of understand what we're talking about here with this decision profile test. So I just entered the tool and I went through not the individual side, but I decided to go through the organization side. And you guys are going to see on my screen, y'all can pause later when you guys want to really, or you can just do this yourself too. At Wiser.business, but keep going, Kylee. Talk me through what I'm learning as I go through this. And are there any wrong answers and right answers?
Well, I know we're about to find out what you're about to become as you do it quickly, but no, there aren't. And it's not like a personality where you're like, oh, I don't want that kind of person. You want all 7. And this first part is part of the big 5 personality. And why we have included personality is we found a correlation between openness and decision making. And so the visionary, you are showing the strong openness to different things. So you'll often move a little bit more than the others. You might have a third kind of framework that others don't have. A lot of people just are very singular in the way they're coming at a decision. And you'll see it. I don't know whether you're answering properly or not.
No, I'm burning through this so that everybody can just kind of see the process and the depth.
Then we're trying to look at the way, you're coming at decisions. And then when we get to the end here, which will be in a second, unless you're about to get a tiebreaker question. No, you're not. I think it's going to be very confused. So you're an achiever. So if we go to your profile, if you click up on the right there, view your full decision profile. Oh, am I stuck or is Jackson?
Vicky, ¿me puedes escuchar? All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Kylee, are you there?
Yep. Are you there?
Technical difficulty report. Vicky, ¿me escuchas? You're back. There we go. We had a little technical mishap there. But on my side, go ahead.
I was saying, click on your decision profile, your full profile. So go to the second. We're just loading, a little buffering here. You won't have access.
Welcome to Ecuador, my friends.
Oh yes.
All right, we'll get that pulled up. Let's do plans maybe later.
No, you won't have. I can show you my screen later if that's helpful too.
Okay. Well, we will. Yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry about that, guys. I wanted you guys to see this profile for the achiever, and now I let us down on that one. Well, so now you have every more reason to dive in for yourself. So talk me through what you remember about the achiever, or what you were gonna.
The achiever's outcomes orientated. So one of the other interesting things Dr. Burke found in her research was 75% of Western CEOs are either they're achievers or explorers. So they're looking for options or they're looking for outcomes. So one of the things that and then I think it's Japan and Germany are more process orientated. So CEOs.
Makes
So
sense.
there's differences in different cultures. And one of the books I really enjoyed reading, aside from Juliet's, was a book called The Culture Map by Erin Meyer. And that was, if you are working with teams around the world, that's a really good one to understand. So if you go to that second tab, strengths and traits, you'll see yeah, I think it's just like what anyway, go down, because remember Jackson didn't answer this. So see, if you keep going down, this is the cognitive thinking style here. So these things, so you've got, because you were pressing at random, you were lucky you came out with outcomes ahead of the top. But what you'll see with most people is they have a real, there's a real prevalence towards one. And then
polarization.
Yeah, and then they'll have another one, but that will be about it. And the collaboration with others, they like a guardian. So somebody that's that has a risk style that's not averse, but they just see things. I did a really interesting case study the other day with this group of a board here that all got fired, and it was a writers' festival, and the whole thing had to be cancelled. Millions of dollars lost for the year. And we profiled them, and they were 8 out of 9 were risk, and that's the rarest of the type. So I was like, oh gosh. And I was externally profiling them, so I was doing it on them through our Snaps tool, trying to work out what they were and what happened. And I thought, gosh, the tech's broken. I was like to the guys, what's going on?
Hear us?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with my internet's
really?
super, super good, and Ethernet's connected, but maybe we'll blame StreamYard for this one.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
With that said, I know I love StreamYard. They're always great. So keep going though, Kylee.
I was just saying, look, we found out 8 out of 9 were guardians. And what they've done is they like one another, and then they've gone, you'd think risk people would see the risk, but they only were able to see one risk and then double down on that risk, rather than having an explorer or a visionary to go, hey, there's all these risks. They just were so they just saw the one risk and that was it, and they blew themselves up on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was
fascinating. That is really interesting. And so there's several decision styles, or there's 7 archetypes, and I'm curious, do you have like a resource for the effective combinations, like a book or a PDF or a page for that?
Well, it's on the tool. It'll show you once 90% of our clients start with decision profile mapping. So they're going to map their organization, they'll map their teams, and it'll show you, I can show my screen, it'll show you the breakdown of per team or whatever you've got. And what we see in most teams is they've only got 2, at the max 3. So the executive team has a couple, that likes like. So, that's 75. That's 70. Oh, well, you don't have access, and you don't have a team.
Oh, I don't have access to it. Got it.
But more you don't have a team set up. So.
But you can share your screen and show that?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great. It'd be really neat to see.
This is our demo. Can you see that?
So pull that up. Yes, we can.
Yeah, this is our demo account. So what you begin to see with your people is that you can see what they are. Now we're having technical difficulties too. All right. Oh no, I'm in a different. Hold on. I know what I'm in, a client thing. Hold on one sec.
Sure. I gotcha. We can pull that back for now once we
there we are. Hold on, let me just check. I'm in my.
Sure, you check it.
I'm good. Yep, good.
Awesome, guys. You get behind the scenes access.
Yes, and thank goodness so I can switch also. If I had different things on this, I can switch between organizations. But you can see that we've got all these different people in our organization and what they are. You can see I'm a little bit like Jackson, and here you can see I'm very, good. And then my next trait is very outcomes orientated. I'm looking for the outcomes, which is pretty typical for a CEO type. Oops. And then when you get here, you're like, these are my people.
How do I go back? Oh, sorry, I messed the screen share up. I need the right one. All right, we'll go with this one for now. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to, yeah. So then you can kind of see what we have across our organization. See, we have no analyzers, so we should address that at some point. But then the group dynamic styles, this is all made up data, but it'll show you what you have across your groups, procurement managers, all of this, and you can start to see what the gaps are. Now, what this means for organizations is when you're making a decision, you don't need to restructure. You just need to make sure that you pull the right people across for the decision. So when we go to a decision, you can ask a decision live. Well, we don't need to. We can just ask anything. And then we go through. So this is all a live tool that you can use to, and then you want to know what kind of expertise you need in the room, which is important. I won't have any of this in my team. And then you can say how long it's going for. And then this is the bit of magic. This will tell you who it recommends. And you can see you start with a low panel strength. You're trying to get to a high one. So CEOs like this because at the end of the day, it's about showing that you have a process in decisions, isn't it? So you can take to the board and say, look, we used the best of who we had. This is where we got to. We didn't have anybody. You can start to see what you mean. I knew we wouldn't have anybody that has planning expertise, but you can kind of see who you need to add to try and get this up.
That's incredible.
To green. Yeah. And so it helps you understand that across your entire organization. And what we're seeing with this tool is that 40 to 60% of people have never been asked into the decision room before from that. So it's also unearthing talent for organizations. Understand your whole room. You might not need to bring in a huge consultancy for 1.2 million to give you a decision framework or work out whatever. You have the people within your own walls that can do that for you.
That's so awesome. It reminds me a lot of like trying to pick a dance partner, or even using something like, I'm going to simplify this down to simply piano. Right. It's an app that teaches me how to play the piano, and it gave me so much clarity on how to understand the architecture of being able to play the piano. And yeah, people figured it out, like years ago without any instruction. Beethoven, he probably didn't have an app to teach him how to use the piano, but there's so many more of us that will be able to unlock success for our life by being able to have that type of framework available to us. Especially those of us who may not have come from like a stable home. It's like you had to kind of figure things out a different way in life, and you have so much more advantage when you have a guide there to help you. So I hope everybody that's listening gets a chance to dive in and play with Wiser, and see how it might be able to help you. Let's go into one final subject, and that is practical, overlooked ways to improve team decision making. So maybe as guided by the tool, but I prefer outside of it. What are some ways that we overlook team decision making realities? And feel free, Kylee, if it makes sense to use the tool for doing it.
No. I think some of it's very cultural, isn't it? I think we live in a culture where captain's calls and strength is seen as you being able to make the call. And you read about, I think it was in the New Yorker the other day, Sam Altman saying, I have to wear my black shirt because I can't make another decision. So how do you want to set up your organization so it all comes back to you? Even when you don't, you might not have the answer because you get further and further away from sources of things as you grow. So how do you deliberately build your teams so they can work together on decisions and you can delegate, and you're building decision rooms? You're not making a captain's call. You understand building decision rooms. And some of the research we're working on right now is, are we creating decision languages by helping companies do this within organizations? And that's really interesting because one of the tools in there is also that right tool. So we put it in there so I can work out what I know what you are, Jackson. I go to write you an email. I say, is it a difficult conversation? Is it a text? What do I want to send? And it'll say, hey, Jackson thinks like this. He would prefer it if he received information in this way. So it makes you more open to that receiving. And we see difficult team, like, or CEOs like to put that in with difficult teams or teams that aren't that confident, maybe dev teams, or I don't want to, bankers. I don't want to. But there's team, there's struggle, communication struggles come with this as well. And I think
absolutely
some people are difficult. And one of our biggest blogs has been about working with difficult people.
I'm one of those.
I haven't found you to be difficult personally, but at all. But say you come across a difficult person, you can focus on their decision style. Gives you a focus to work with them, and say, we know, right, Jackson's a pain, so he's being a pain, but he's trying to push the boundaries. He's trying to do this. It just helps you frame what you should be focusing on for Jackson, rather than focusing on, you can go down a bit of a hole with, people that you find difficult that you have to work with. And we find that restructuring for people is quite helpful.
Absolutely. Well, and to be fair, right, somebody who is very big on healthy conflict, right, and wants to be accountable, that may be working with somebody who hates accountability, it's like, that's just a difficult situation, right? That's two people who are not designed to communicate. But I will give an example from today. And I had a meeting with a couple of team members, and one of the team members was not happy with me about a situation. And I mean, trial and error. I've had people leave for less, and I'd be super upset. And I said, look, I'm going to leave for 10 minutes. Y'all talk. You two talk. 10 minutes. I'll be back. And I knew I needed to get out of the room. I knew that these two leaders are great people. I love them both. I need them both. And I knew that they were going to be able to talk about whatever was causing a challenge better without me in the room. Now, that's me playing caveman mode with decision-making rooms, Kylee, because not all of us, I don't know how to use Wiser yet as a team, and maybe it's something that could help. So is that a scenario where the Wiser tool could help us know maybe what to do and how to overcome that
think
challenge?
You'd understand what is the way that people are thinking about the decision that needs to be made. So, one of them might want outcomes. One of them doesn't have enough evidence to progress. And the others try to look for all the options available. You've just got to understand where people are coming from. And I think that understanding is the first step in communication. The first step.
See, I saw that in your tool, and that's what attracted me to say that, is because I saw when I did the fake version just now, and I saw one of the statements said, what makes this person upset, or what makes you upset, right? I was like, oh, that would be really helpful. Oh, these are the triggers for so-and-so. And I have to honor both the ladies I was working with today on that. Both of them came back, I came back to the table.
I assume I'm not going to talk over Jackson. I guess I could talk about personality while I'm here and why it's different. So personalities will tell you something about how somebody is and how they might prefer to work or what motivates them, whereas the profiles are different. I didn't know whether you'd gone, so I just started talking about the difference between personality profile and decision profiles while you were gone. I was trying to.
Very good. Yeah. Well, both ladies, by the way, they figured out what was, I don't want to say needed. We all came together after the decision and we're like, look, we love each other. We're happy to work together. We had a misunderstanding. Here's what she said. Here's what I can work on my end. I said, here's what I can work on my end. And we all came back to yet another level of awesomeness. And so while the love and the patience and the persistence and the consistency and the reliability, our core values really help us in our environment, I would be so short-sighted as a visionary not to continue to dive into Wiser and also make sure that my team dives into it. I've really been impressed with what I've been able to learn from it. And I need to make sure to prioritize more time for our team to dive in deeper, because it is oftentimes, I find that the decisions we make and how we went about making them that disrupt a good thing. And I think we can avoid that more often and create better things if we have more guidance and framing to help us make better decisions. So I'm still all in. I got to ask Kylee to wrap up. If this was your last chance to talk to visionary leaders out there, what would your last advice be?
Don't try to do it all yourself. You know, I think it's a hard road anyway, and I think you getting as much help as you can. What do they say? I worked in an accelerator as head of production for 6 years. So, most startups fail because of, well, for a start, singles entrepreneurs don't get as far as teams. And then most things fail because of the team. So it all comes back to people more than anything. And I think we see in the media what success is supposed to look like for us. And it's these certain types of people, but that's not, it's not most companies aren't going to be $1 trillion companies. And what kind of company do you want to have that will make you happy? Be $1 million or $5 million a year would be a good life. So
Absolutely.
I don't know, build the company you want to be in, not what I think society tells you is, the formula for success. Let's work out what our own success is and do it together. Like, it's hard to do it alone.
I love that. And I appreciate that you brought the word happiness into that. Visionaries, life is too short to dread or overwork yourself. There are lots of opportunities to create something that's great and amazing, and to define that by your own set of definitions. One of my favorite things to do with that is exactly what Kylee said. We don't have to do it alone. We can do it together. Find great people to build this with, and the whole process becomes that much more abundant and fun. So if you're a visionary leader, and even if you haven't built the coolest tool in the world yet, you may be at the beginning stages. In the top right corner, there's a button that says Be Our Guest. We would love to have you on the show, talk to you about what you're up to. I hope that, again, all of you take the time to go to wiser.business and see what this tool can do for your own decision making, because I think that the tool will help you beyond the corporate room as well. It'll probably help you with your life, and even possibly help you on your family dynamics. I think it would be fun to play with in that regards. We will see you guys on the next episode of Vision Pros Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time